Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. So, as of recording, Hurricane Ida has made landfall and it's since downgraded into a tropical storm. However, it was still pretty potent. According to the state's governor, this is one of the strongest storms to make landfall here in modern times. And Hurricane Ida was unfortunately fierce enough to hit New Orleans with such ferocity that it knocked out power in the entire city. And as the New York Times article points out, some of the customers in the storm's path may be without power for weeks. And so right now there's a bunch of people in New Orleans who need your help. And so I've provided some links down below to various different organizations. Take your pick of which one you want to support most and help the people of New Orleans and southern Louisiana. But there's something I want to touch on, and it has to do with the Twitter interaction I had earlier today when looking and reading about this unfortunate news. Hey, so real talk, what the fuck are we gonna do about Louisiana and the rest of the Gulf Coast? People live there, including indigenous people, and are gonna keep living there, so what the heck is it gonna take to make it safe? How do we protect these families? Big ass seawall? And this touches on a really good point because unfortunately, to my knowledge, there are still many families still coping with the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, and it's been over a decade. So that has to do with inequality and a variety of other reasons. But then it also touches on the whole aspect of climate change and how these storms, with warmer waters, they're creating more powerful storms. And these more powerful storms also happen to be a lot more frequent. And then on top of that, you have the fact that many parts of America's infrastructure system are crumbling and collapsing because they've been chronically underfunded for decades now because big government bad, among many other silly reasons for why it hasn't been fixed, maintained, or updated. And so going back to that tweet about, hey, what are we going to do? Sad and unfortunate real talk, we're not going to do anything. The people of the Gulf Coast are unfortunately going to be abandoned to fate, as it were, because unfortunately many governments down there refuse to accept the reality of climate change, and they're also very much against big government, even though they have no problem implementing, bans on masks and, oh no, you can or can't do this, especially if you're a woman and decide to have bodily autonomy. So that's not a good start. And then you also have the rampant inequality where some people can escape, others really don't have a choice or the means of escaping. And if the damage is too severe, they still can't afford to move, so they kind of just have to make the best of whatever ramshackle remains there are. And unfortunately, many right-wing pundits won't care because they still won't address the actual problem, and they'll instead say things like, well, it's clear that such and such local leader who I don't like, this is totally their fault, and they'll play partisan politics with the whole thing. Or some other terrible reason or excuse, right? And so between these factors and probably others that I haven't even thought of or have come to mind yet, that's going to be the sad reality for many communities on the Gulf Coast. And that's not even touching on the Gulf Coast's current, oil and gas boom that's destroying wetlands, which again are natural protections against hurricanes and storm surges. And if those break or spill, well, no one really wants to say it, but I feel like we're probably witnessing the real-time collapse of not only the Gulf ecosystem, but the Gulf as some kind of coherent, functioning, developed state. It's going to become a lost coast due to a variety of reasons, ranging from partisan politics to a lack of investment in infrastructure to just societal collapse due to a lack of ability to prepare or have proper community access and support with increasing storms and natural phenomenon because of climate change. Which, again, to touch on an earlier point, if that then leads to, oh, you know what, there's always several terrible storms every year, we can't, rebuild fully by the time the next one hits, or, oh no, the critical infrastructure has failed, people, whether they can or not, are just going to simply move away. Which means that with a lack of people, suddenly the economy is depressed, leading to more poverty and less of an excuse or ability to fund these communities. So again, due to a variety of factors, Gulf Coast communities, big and small, are going to be impacted by more powerful storms, as well as more frequent storms and weather phenomena. That, in turn, will affect the communities and the economy, which is going to lower both of those in terms of quality of life and returns. And as we've seen, economic flight is something that results in even further impoverished communities. There's often lots of drug abuse problems as well. And this is all sidestepping the massive racial politics in the Deep South. So yeah, real talk, the future of the Gulf Coast is bleak. Unless we actually do what needs to be done. We take the necessary steps and call on our elected representatives, whether they're Team Red or Team Blue, to invest in infrastructure, which means protecting the economy, which Lord knows capitalists love, helping our communities become more resilient and self-sufficient, and meaningfully addressing the climate crisis to help reduce or at least limit the severity of these future problems and storms moving forward. So again, there are people struggling right now. There's a variety of organizations down below that you can donate to. I encourage everyone to find at least one to throw a couple bucks at. And those organizations are unfortunately going to become all the more necessary moving forward, as we've already locked into unfortunate climate change to a certain extent already. And so more storms like this and worse are going to pummel various Gulf Coast communities for the coming decades. But it's not to say that the situation is entirely hopeless, but we definitely have a lot of work to do. And unfortunately, the people in power and in charge seem uniquely disinterested in doing so. And that's what's bothering me today.